All right. Well, thank you, Kyle, for coming today for our webinar, How to Build a Community. I would like to introduce Kyle is the founder of The Swap, which is multimedia entertainment company leverage ICP technology with the plans to host IRL and metaverse events. Kyle, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It's a great morning. I'm here in Wisconsin, so I don't know, we're opposite ends of the world. But yeah, early morning for me. 10:30 ish. But from what I understand, we're about 12 hours apart.
Yeah, exactly. So, could you tell a little bit more about the swap, and then we can start have a conversation about how to we actually build a community, because the Kyle has the biggest community in ICP, and everybody who is on ICP ecosystem comes to him for all his really good Twitter spaces that can run up to 6 hours or maybe more. It's a pretty difficult job to do, run a Twitter space for 6 hours. Kyle, could you talk about the swap?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, as stated, I am the founder of the Swap. So we're multimedia. Basically, we're currently in development of like a news app. So that'll be downloadable in Apple and Google. They'll see several like evolutions to it over time. We're going to be doing a digital magazine, which is like a monthly release. That will help contribute to like the projects that we've gotten to meet IRL and see what they're doing behind the scenes. So that might show more like how products came to life from stuff that they're developing, and show like interesting things about their community. Essentially, like we want to highlight why it's fun to be a part of these communities in Web3. Like we're not interested in talking about token price or anything like that. At the end of the day, people should want to know why these communities are special, and that's what we want to show. And you know, with the IRL events, we want to show these events into a metaverse, so it's going to be connected from there. So like you could be in an arena or a virtual room as your avatars, digital collectible, you name it. You should be able to use these while listening to a Twitter space or at a concert and so on. So that's what we're trying to bring to life. It's still early in our process, but I was recently brought onto a metaverse project called Outposts. So I'm now a core contributor there. So we're piecing things together over time. It's just building. It takes a while to build things, especially a metaverse when it's a big immersive world. So that's our goal, is to connect events, whether it's like a hub as you're running here. We could show events that are going on in real life, educational stuff, conferences, you name it, and give everyone like a interactive experience in a metaverse project, essentially.
Wow, that's very interesting. Um, so when you look in the community, the community it's a key for any successful to be successful project. What are the first steps to take when you're looking to build Web3 community?
So, I mean, when you're looking to build a community in general, you want to find a small group to connect with. So find that niche, whatever you want to pronounce it as. Go from there, and basically you want to resonate with people and connect, right? So if you're picking Web3, for instance, we have gaming, music, and entertainment is kind of what we revolve around, which is very broad. But you need to find a way, like, okay, like we're into this style of gaming, like a first person shooter or MMORPG, whatever. You need to get in those communities and start engaging with people, connecting, actually getting to know them, and so on. So once you kind of get in the habit of creating, um, you know, building rapport in that matter, it's important to find ways that you can provide value back to those people, whether it's a skill set that you're familiar with or information that being able to grow a community for that matter, is a very, like, you need to have a lot of energy to do it. It takes a lot of like careful content creation if you're going to do it online. and you have to always engage. Like I can't stress that enough, because at the end of the day, you're going to need feedback from your community of what they want to see, expand on the community that you're building. I would recommend starting out with one platform. I'm on like 10, and it's not it's not the ideal to do that. Especially early on, you want to make sure that you're using one, maybe two platforms at most. So for instance, we use like Discord, Twitter. We use platforms like Discover, District, and so on. So I would choose one of those. And because crypto Twitter is like a very popular one, that's where we're, like our biggest, I'd say, like individual audience, other than like the Discover platforms. You want to just focus on one area and then slowly evolve over time. So like if you want to build communities on crypto Twitter and Discover, you're going to have to funnel people from there to get them to try the platform and so on. But at the end of the day, it's always about high quality content. How connected you are to those individuals in your community, because if you don't care about your community, they're not going to care about you. So
Yeah, exactly. So when startups just starting out, how long will it take? What do you think approximately take to build some community, like from 0 to at least 1,000 followers?
And
how many
I mean,
hours would it has startup put in to receive organic growth?
for someone that has no experience to do it, it's going to take a lot of energy. Like, that could take some people 6 months, maybe. I don't know. Like it really depends on intensity and quality of content. There's some people that can get 1,000 followers in a day. It just depends on the content, and if you really touch on things that resonate with people. It's all about finding a way to connect, building rapport through connection online. If you have a solution to something that's been troubling, millions of people, and you have one tweet that goes viral from your first tweet, you could get 1,000 followers like that. It really just depends on what you provide and what your goal is. Make sure you have clearly defined goals. If you're trying to build up to 1,000 followers on Twitter, you should be posting several times a day and actually contributing in Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces is the #1 way to grow right now. People want to hear your input, and you could reach out to more people if you were to, I guess, go above and beyond, where you extract that audio and then translate it into another language and so on. So like there's ways that you can connect with people. You want to make sure that you're proving yourself with the quality of content that you're putting out. So
regarding content, so when the project is like, let's say the metaverse project, what kind of content should they be posting besides the updates about the project? What do you think the community usually for metaverses wanted to see?
So, I mean, it depends on where the state of that project's at, because big projects like that are typically like under like privacy and like NDAs and stuff in partnership agreements and so on. So it really depends on the state of what that project is at. But I mean, if you look at like history of how like products and stuff are made, people are fascinated by that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we're going to dedicate a lot of time in showing that in our digital magazine once that's out. So like for instance, how is this microphone made? People want to see how things are crafted, and I think that brings people closer together, because they're like, whoa, I didn't think of it like that. It offers new perspective on how ideas come to creation. So I think that's one of the good ways of getting really involved with your community. And then they might even offer feedback of like what they would like to see, how they would like to see something come to life within the project, or focus on a different area. I think we've all seen networks focus on some things. Like for instance, like I know we've been outspoken on ICP of maybe we should focus on this at the time being. Like getting your community to talk like that and get them to do things that they want to do will typically help bring that interconnection amongst individuals. And that's really what you want, because once you have that, people are more likely to kind of market word of mouth and say, hey, this is an awesome community, you need to join. So that's what you really want at the end of the day.
So for content creation, like when I look to the project different, when you're creating project already on particular chain, you can be a little bit loose on content. Like you can have a degen style once in a while there, whereas bigger chains, layer ones, layer seconds, they have more strict and more professional, right? So how much percentage of degen would you think it would be appropriate for a project startup to have? Do you think the degen style posts actually bring a community close to it?
That's a tough one, because like there definitely is an art with having like that in your community. But at the end of the day, you want organic growth in your community. If you're focused on selling people emotional like FOMO to your community, I don't think you're going to retain people there as like a strong core. I mean, maybe you're really far into your product development stage and you're like ready to go to market like tomorrow. Maybe that's when you can, rely on degens to come and populate your community. But if you look at like, sorry, I'm gonna put this in like service industry, like restaurant. If you have a bad experience going to a restaurant your first time, 90% of the time you're not going to go back. Right. So there's a proper time to, I guess, market off of emotion to attract more people to your community. But if you do that too soon, you're just going to lose those people and they're going to talk badly about your project. You need to know when the right time is. Like at the end of the day, you want to grow organically. You don't want to do giveaways or anything like that all the time. They're great for like immediate engagement, but if you're not doing anything to sustain that, you're just going to give out free stuff nonstop. So there's a balance, like, and it takes for you to assess where you're at, like even get like several people to kind of be like, oh no, I don't, verify where your community's at before you do stuff like that, because otherwise you're just going to be throwing out money.
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen a project, even in ICP ecosystem, that they received a grant and they already built the product, and then they realize, oh, we built it, but we have 0 followers. When does the startup needs to engage and build their community from the beginning,
Absolutely.
or after they already built something to show the community they have the legit project already?
Yeah, so I would say you absolutely need to be like talking the whole time, like at least introducing and be like, hey, like if your product is going to be finished in 3 months, you should still be chiming in and like saying some sort of things on social media, because it's important to build that community early on. To me, there's a lot of projects that don't actually market their developments, and to like, as someone that does a lot of social media and like I build communities and stuff, it's important to at least get up on like a Twitter space or have some sort of social media presence at least once a week. And then once you're ready to get to like releasing your project, start tweeting a couple times a day or whatever platform you use. You need to be very active. Like it requires a lot of energy, and honestly, we just don't see it enough in our ecosystem. Like there's projects that are supposedly still around that haven't tweeted in 2-3 months, and I'm like, these guys are done. They're not, working anymore. Like I don't see them, being of anything productive or adding value to the ecosystem anymore. But all of a sudden, like they'll get one tweet out and then like, hey, we're still here, blah, blah, blah. And then you don't hear from them again. And then you go check in on their Discord. And, it's just that to me shows that you're not capable of leading, a project or, company for that matter. So it's very important to have a social presence, and maybe, you're still working a full-time job or whatever. But you need to let your community know that, like, hey, like I have these obligations and so on. We've had these people to kind of help out in our community. We're still here. We're still active. But if you're not here every day, or at least showing some sort of, consistent engagement with your community, then why are you trying to do a startup, in my opinion? And then I know that doesn't resonate with everyone, but like, it's so important to have some sort of marketing early on, because you'll learn how to evolve it as you're like getting your product to market. Like you just need to have a strong presence, in my opinion.
Right. So, we kind of got a little bit into marketing as well. So when it comes to marketing, is partnership a collaboration considered as a marketing strategy?
Yeah. So we have tons of partners. Well, I shouldn't say tons anymore. Like we've like narrowed it down. We have some people that like we haven't announced yet. But there's some projects that have clearly like faded out and so on. But like you need to be careful with who you partner with at first. I would definitely like make sure that you take precaution, because like it could look badly upon your business and community or whatever. You need to, rely on your partners to speak pretty regularly with. I've, at least try to talk to like our heavily like present partnerships that we are going to rely on, like at least like once a week, bi-weekly, and so on. And you can rely on them to maybe quote retweet and comment on some of your posts and so on, and that'll help you get extra exposure. They have different community members than what you have, at least for the most part. Like there's at least a couple people that might be kind of just heavily involved in their community that aren't involved to yours. And at the end of the day, if you're going to be working together, like to build a platform or a bigger community, you need to have some sort of interconnection between the two. Whether it's using a game, I'll use Discover as an example. They have the Discover Arcade. We have a game right now that we're doing like a NFT giveaway on. So this kind of contradicts like my last statement, or the last question. But so in our community, we are kind of gaming focused, and we have where we're doing some NFTs that we're giving out for IC pinball. So just a pinball game, getting community members involved. But we're building up our platforms to get ready for Discover Spaces or Zones, whatever they end up calling it, where we can do audio broadcasting on there. So it's important to keep those community members engaged on their platform, as well as like on our platforms overall, because we might influence more people to come to our communities that maybe didn't see us before if they're quote retweeting or commenting and engaging with us. Discover's got 30-some thousand followers on Twitter. We have about 8,100-ish or somewhere around there. So obviously there's a lot more people that could see the exposure of Discover retweeting us and become curious in what we're doing. And it's just super important to be able to fall back on your partners to be able to help and contribute to the growth of your platform.
What is the 3 keys how to improve a community, presence? Like 3 main, ingredients to make the sauce, the special sauce for to build in a community.
I'm going to kind of repeat myself a little bit here. Engagement is the best way to get your community more involved. So if someone comments on your post, you need to comment back. You need to find out more about the person, essentially. You know, connect with them. Like, how's your day going, and so on. Like, that's little bits that get that person thinking about, oh, this is a nice community. Like, people want to relate to people. Like, at the end of the day, like, sometimes if you put in perspective, people in their homes might not get the a strong social activity you know, with friends in real life, and so on. And you know, it's different for everyone, so you need to kind of put those things in perspective of, okay, if I say, you know, or I ask how you're doing, and what do you have planned for today, and so on, you're resonating with someone and getting that connection that ultimately will have someone more interested in what you're doing. There's a saying that on like crypto Twitter that reply guys really drive the community forward. So you know, that's something that helps influencers with their engagement and so on. But if you're taking the time to reply to all those people, like, it just goes a lot further. And you never know if it means the world to someone that, you know, they're getting a response. You know, you even see like Elon Musk tweeting back at people on Twitter that, you know, like, reply to him at times, and he's not following them or anything, you know. So like, it could make someone's whole year if you get to, you know, get a response out of someone. So that's super important. Just like you would in real life, if you're living in a small town or whatever, you'll have to do like community events, whether it's like, oh, like, we have a farmer's market or whatever. You need to be able to provide like town halls or discussions and so on to bring information forth to your community. That's why we do a lot of spaces. So if people have questions on the IC, which is where we're based, they can come. We'll openly discuss these things, get their questions answered, and so on. So that's a good way of engaging with your community. And then, like I said, we do games and stuff too, but I would kind of factor that into like the farmer kind of market thing that I just said. Let's see, the three. So engagement, events, and then I think something that's important that we started doing is helping guide our community members to grow their own accounts. So like, I've grown plenty of social media accounts for companies and communities and so on. So to me, if I can make our own community members stronger with their own social presence, that will go a lot further, because then they can flourish into becoming their own content creators and so on from there. I think that's really important. I don't see a lot of communities doing that, other than like if you're an NFT project, you'll probably see ape follow ape or whatever, and so on. So like, it's important to kind of give people the tools and resources to be able to do whatever they want on their own. If you can give someone that power to become a voice on their own, I think you will see so much kind of come back to your community in the process. It's not like you're expecting that, but I think it just kind of naturally flows in.
So building a community, it's not always, you know, roses and everything is great. So there are some scams are coming too. How do you recognize a scam within the community?
I think if you're like using Discord, I think you're familiar with like, oh, hey, like, we can, you know, help you with these chatters, blah blah blah. Like, I whenever you're consuming content, it's important to be able to I guess break away from certain content, because what you consume ultimately kind of comes into your perspective. So over time, if you're following bad content creators, you're going to think more with bad content and so on. So you kind of just get rehearsed with how certain scammers come about, whether they're trying to sell. If someone's trying to come into my Discord and they're trying to sell me a course, I know plain like just there's no way. Like, I don't need help with trading or whatever. I don't do Forex. I'm not going to click your link. Oftentimes, if someone is trying to like really force their hand to get you to try something with a link, don't click it. Like use I believe there's a, if you go to Google total virus, you can right click, copy the link, and put it in that Google total virus, and it will tell you it's a malicious link, and so on. So watch out for links always. So you're seeing a lot of influencers get hacked from that. Some are getting SIM swapped. So sometimes it could be someone that you're familiar with and you've been following for a long time. And that's important to kind of always check links before you click them, even if it's someone that you trust. Let's say we used Elon as an example before. If Elon were to tweet a link, he could have got hacked. Like and that would be draining millions and millions of people if they just click this link. So always check links, even if it's from someone you trust. You just have to take precaution there. Also, if you're using 2FA, take off SMS text. That's the best advice I can give you. If you are using SMS text for verification, that can get hacked. So you want to use like a Google Authenticator or an Authenticator app to get that password. That will protect you from getting your account hacked and, you know, going through what I just mentioned with the phishing links and so on. But we have it where our communities kind of flag if they're getting scammers and you know, like messages, like a lot of times they'll come into your DMs. They might try to look like the person that owns the server or community or a mod and so on. We have some community members that put the swap in their bio and they're not associated with the team. So like we have to monitor those. So I'm constantly kind of like going through profiles and highlighting who might be a potential threat if they're trying to engage with other community members. So I always just have you know, our mods aware of that, because it is important. You don't want, like, if you have scammers in your community, it's a liability to the growth of your community, and people will talk about that if they're scammed. At the end of the day, you just don't want any of that to be present in your community, and it happens more than it should. So always be careful.
Exactly. This is very important, you know, about scamming, because today in IRL community, there was a one scammer who got 500,000 in BTC on one I know, in one Telegram group that I am a member of. And I think it was like P2P, you know, thing happening between them, some agreement that didn't go through exactly. But this is very important. And sometimes people, I would add that sometimes people get really engaged for some time with the members of the community, and then they get to know you, and you kind of feel already, oh, it's just a community member, more relaxed, and things happen, and that community member can actually lead to a scam or to a link. So I would add that to watch out even for people who you engage in, even people not only online but offline as well, because not everyone is good, have a good intentions. So this is very extremely important with who you work, with who you build community, and who you trust. And it leads me to the question, and I think after this, we're going to wrap up, is the trust within the web3. Is it a cherry on the top of the pie tonight? It's probably one of that questions going to, like, it also goes through for a community on the side and then the builders on the side. How do you get the trust? What's a secret ingredients for that?
So building trust is, you know, for project leaders, is essentially, if you say you do something, that you're going to do something, you need to follow through with it, right? Like you build up trust through action. And, you know, talking about things, like they could be great for giving your vision and so on, but at the end of the day, like if you're promising stuff to your community, you need to follow through with it. So trust is built over time, and it can vanish like that. So it's important that you're setting realistic expectations for your community on what can be delivered and achieved. Because if it's not, you'll have people that lose that trust there. It's just like it's tough at times because it's online. You're not necessarily face to face, but if you're doing video calls like this or whatever with your community and so on, and you're interacting and engaging, like it's a good way of showing like realism in your community. So like one of the things that we'll be doing is like doing some more streams where we're gaming and so on with community members, and that kind of breaks down that barrier, because like people get to see what like where you're at, and they get to understand a little bit more about you when you're actually very personal in intimate moments like this, essentially. So it's important to build trust over time. Always like have caution when engaging, I guess, because like even like when you're using like audio platforms and so on, like crypto Twitter, essentially you see like a lot of people talking about NFTs and so on. And you need to ultimately do your research like whenever you're going to get involved with web3, because there could be people that are misinformed that are doing these spaces, or they could be pushing malicious links and so on, and you just don't realize it, and then all of a sudden later they're like, oh, sorry, my bad. So like you need to be very cautious and always do your research. That's the best way to protect yourself in this space. And trust, like I said, is built over time, and it can be ruined like that. So I mean, just take precaution, because at the end of the day, it's who you vibe and resonate with, that are the communities that you should want to be with, versus someone that you're typically like energy is a good thing indicator, like, oh, like I'm like not trying to be involved with that community because of how they interact and so on. So like be aware of that. The best thing you can do is just heighten your awareness when being involved with communities. So understand what they're trying to get you to do at the end of the day. Like if you're in something where you're getting educated and so on, understand that the purposes for education. If there's something that they're trying to push and get you to buy, then understand that early on and think of why they would want you to do that, essentially.
Yeah, I don't go through this. As soon as I hear something about buy, but not exactly buy word, but something that implies that I have to buy, no, they lost me on the so so this is very important. Well, thank you very much, Carl, for coming. And in
Yeah,
Ireland, where I am, we say sawadika. Thank you very much for sharing your experience how to build communities. I hope this information was helpful for new startups coming to ICP ecosystem and maybe beyond. And I'm looking forward for another call sometimes next time in the future.
yeah, anytime. Happy to contribute. So
All right, thank you.
you're
Bye-bye.
welcome.
Have a good day.
Bye. You as well. I have to let my dog